The Muslim community is extremely concerned about the violent backlash against its members, against its institutions. Quite few violent attacks have been taking place against individual Muslims. Hate messages, death threats, like our two offices were evacuated, the one in Washington, D.C. and in Santa Clara, because of suspicious powder that we received with a death threat on it. So yes, there is a sense of anxiety, and this comes in the background of the anti-Muslim sentiment that has been unfortunately fueled by Donald Trump and his likes from his platform.
Politicians, religious leaders, public figures of all political stripes need to speak out strongly. We've been asking for so long for the right wing of the political spectrum to speak out against the growing Islamophobia within their own ranks.
I can tell you how I felt. It's like I couldn't believe in this day and age in America a leading presidential candidate would be using language that we thought we defeated 70 years ago. The Nazism, the fascism, this is outraging. This is dangerous on so many levels, and it should be condemned. I mean, it's immoral, it's un-American, unconstitutional, a danger to safety, public safety. I think it's a threat to national security.
Since the horrific attacks in Paris, my office has been receiving many phone calls reporting hate crimes and even violent threats against members of the community, threats to shoot 2-year-old children, to blow up mosques. Out of the 355 mass shootings we've had this year alone, only 2 involved members of the American Muslim community. You know, the 352 other ones, or 353 other ones, had nothing to do with members of the Muslim community. So I think we need to look at this from a broader perspective of mass shootings in this country and stand united, not divided.
Well, it feels like he's writing his policies in a clown car, but fortunately the adults are starting to talk now. Former Vice President Cheney has condemned him, the Speaker of the House has condemned him, and the head of his party, the Republican National Committee, has condemned him. Well, we know that there's a danger to it because a Gallup pollster showed that anti-Muslim sentiment tends to go in cycles around election campaigns, not so much international news events. And we've been living the backlash to comments like what Mr. Trump has been making for the last few months. It has a very real impact on human beings living on the ground who are now being subjected to hate because this candidate finds it politically expedient to use fear to get money and votes.
You have women being harassed. We've had cases where a lady was punched, hijab snatched off. We have a mosque being vandalized, burglarized. We have some people shooting at folks. Fortunately, it's not a majority of people, but it doesn't take a majority. It only takes a few, and only a few people keep all of this stuff going.
One of the most hurtful things that we often hear is to be told to go back home. I was born and raised in Kansas. I am home. I know people are under a lot of stress and even feeling depressed from all of the hate rhetoric and the negative messages that have been spread wide these days.
The New York Post, as I understand it, is one of the largest newspapers in the state of New York, and they ran a front page cover this morning that has the words Muslim killers strewn across it. We don't talk about the faith or ethnicity of other mass shooters, and it's unfortunate that an entire community of a religious community is being held to account for the actions of 2 criminal suspects.
You feel scared as an American about what's happening in our country, but then at the very same time, you're afraid for your own life because of, what people are doing in retaliation.
The Council on American-Islamic Relations saying the spike follows both the San Bernardino rampage and Donald Trump's calls for a ban on Muslim immigration.
A Bengali Muslim store owner was attacked violently. He was he got to the hospital, and we were talking about coming together as a nation. What stopped that attack was actually a customer coming in and acted as a good Samaritan. So were it not for that Samaritan, perhaps things would have been much different.
In the Republican primary campaign, Muslim bashing seems to be the red meat that the candidates are throwing to some of their supporters.
American Muslims need to be stopped being looked at as a suspect.
The first thing that comes to my heart, besides my heart dropping, is, oh God, please don't make him Muslim. Because I know how the general population react.
I have to think twice. Do I want to wear my scarf like this, or do I, wear a beanie or wear a hat instead so nobody can really tell if I'm actually a Muslim?
As president of Alabama's Council on American-Islamic Relations, Kaula Hadid calls Donald Trump's calls to keep Muslims from entering the United States
absolutely outrageous.
And this nation is built on freedom of religion, and we cannot allow for this type of bigotry rhetoric.
For the Muslim community, when an act like this happens, such as in Paris, there's a sense of anger that yet again extremists are hijacking the religion of Islam.
This rhetoric echoes the policies enacted by Nazi Germany against the Jews. Trump's and Carson's mainstreaming of Islamophobia in the election is inciting real discrimination, real hate crimes.
And a similar scare briefly shut down the CAIR headquarters in Washington, D.C. this afternoon. Officials there say the letter contained a, quote, message of hate along with white powder. Field tests on the substance came back negative for anything dangerous, but it's still unclear exactly what it was and who sent it.
Back here live on the scene, the Santa Clara Fire Department still has control of this incident. They are inside still collecting samples which will be sent to a lab to confirm what it is. In the meantime, the Santa Clara Police Department is standing by, waiting for them to clear out so they can begin their investigative process. They are also in contact with the FBI and other federal authorities like the United States Postal Inspection Service to begin investigating how and who may have sent that letter to these offices in Santa Clara. Reporting live, Len Ramirez, KPIX.